जॉईन नुसती दिसत होती, मला काही कळत. ठीक आहे, मी कंटिन्यू करतो आता या सेफ्टी टॅग सिस्टीम पासून. The next parameter is a safety tag system. So we have already discussed about the lockout and tag out system, that is LOTO system, in one of the video. Now this safety tag system is one of the parameter from the safety appraisal point of view. So IS 8095 provides a specification for accident prevention tags. So this is a specific IS standard which is going to guide us regarding the safety tags, preventive tags, accident tags, etc. And there are some messages like do not start, do not operate, danger, or radiation hazard, or biological hazard, chemical hazard, etc. So the tags are used as a temporary means of warning employees of an existing hazards, or to warn them not to start any switch or operation, because some other persons may be injured due to that. For example, while working in movable or rotational machine, tag on isolated switch is necessary to prevent wrong operation of any switch, wall control, etc. So there are variety of tags which is needed in different types of activity. Sometimes there is a maintenance in the confined space, so we go for work permit systems, and for that purpose again we have to isolate the energies, utilities like electricity or steam, compressed air, etc. And we have to attach one tag that do not operate this wall, do not start this button, do not switch on this supply, etc. So these are the different systems that we must adopt, and we must observe these systems. Then tagging is essential during repair. It is more useful for new or untrained workers. The tag shall be removed as soon as die hazard is removed or eliminated. So for example, do not start tag on power machine should be provided till the repairing is over, and then it should be removed. So we have to communicate directly or indirectly directly or indirectly to the person who is nearby to that machine or wall or other hazards. So defective equipment tag shall be placed till die defects exist only. Accident prevention signs are of permanent nature while the tags are temporary, and some of the safety signs and color should be used in these types of tags. So for example, if there is a danger tag, so that should be always indicated by the white and red color. So there are some research and some studies which clearly indicate that these color combinations should be used for that purpose only. Say for example, caution is always indicated by the black and yellow color, and likewise some danger symbols, danger indications, some standard symbols should be used. So all these colors and signs should be useful, which is given in the IS 9457. The tag should be in the language understood by the workers. So basically, when we understood the different colors, signs, symbols, and some guide words, which is useful for the tag preparation, so that may be prepared in the local language also to understand by the worker or helper category. So there are different types of tags we have already discussed in one of the presentation, and colors for the same tags are prescribed but not the size which should be suitable. So depending on the visibility, depending on the hazards, depending on the severity, we have to use the size and the color combination of that tag with the communication or the guidelines. Then the next parameter for this safety appraisal is PSI, that is plant safety inspection. So plant safety inspection is an old and effective method of appraising plant safety. So the detailed guidelines is given in the BS 3811 1964, and the main points which is available under this PSI is inspection, safety inspection, safety and health inspection, and some other parameters. So generally when we are talking about a general word, that is inspection, so it is an inspection in the process, that may be an inspection for the facilities, that may be an inspection for the standards, that may be an inspection for the quality or the performance, and that the level is maintained. So whatever may be the level required, whatever the standards required, that should be followed and maintained by the plant personnel. So that general things are covered under the general word called as inspection. When we are using a word safety inspection, then it is defined as monitoring function conducted in an organization to locate and report existing and potential hazards which have the capacity to cause an accident in the workplace. So in the safety inspection, our main motive is to locate, to identify the potential hazards, and that hazards, their severity, their levels, their precautionary measures, their preventive measures, that should be reported to the management level. So this is covered under the safety inspection technique under PSI. Then safety and health inspection. So it ensured the working condition, environmental conditions, then their actions, conformity test, that is the methods which is conform to the legal requirement, to the safety requirements, and the combined efforts of employers, employees, safety experts, and inspectors to create safe and healthy environment in the plant. So as far as the health hazard is concerned, that may be related to the skin, that may be related to the respiratory system, that may be related to the lung systems, that may be related to the ingestion, digestion systems, that may be related to your eyes, etc. So all these things which are nothing but the health hazard that may cause an harmful effect to your body part, etc., should be considered in the safety and health inspection simultaneously with the safety aspects. So we have to focus on safety aspects as well as on the health aspects in the industry, that is under safety and health inspection. So these are the different inspections technique under plant safety inspections, and these are the points, that is objectives of this PSI. So main point is to find out the hazards, accident causes, that may be in terms of unsafe conditions or unsafe act. So normally when we have categorized these accident, their types, and find out the causes, then as per the IS 3786, the main parameters or the category is the unsafe act and unsafe conditions. So that should be identified under this PSI. Then losses and appropriate remedial measures for their prevention and control. So to avoid these types of accidents, to avoid the types of hazards, to avoid whatever the causes we found in the accident investigation, that should be prevented and that should be controlled by the expertise. That is one of the major objective of this PSI. Then the second one objective is to maintain the safe work environment operational profitability, and control unsafe actions of people. To check statutory provisions of the Factory Act and similar other safety statutes. Then the next one is to check the effectiveness of the existing systems and to find improvement if required for the purpose of total loss control. Then to check the quality control, product safety, good manufacturing practice, that is GMP, then wear and tear of the parts or the machineries. Then if any corrosion is occur, if any erosion is occur, then what type of corrosion is occur, why it is occurred, how to prevent it. All these things are nothing but the quality check. Then some tests may be conducted, so that may be some destructive test, that may be a non-destructive test, that may be a pneumatic test, that may be some other test which is guided by the expert person or the safety auditor or the third party persons. So for quality checking, there are different parameters which may be tested or measured with the help of standard test, and also the personal selections. So if someone is expertise in test area, so that may be a laboratory test, that may be a mechanical test, that may be a NDT, so that person should be there for the quality check. If someone is expertise in the corrosion area, how to prevent it, what types of coating should be required, how much the thickness of that particular coating should be, what exactly the chemical components or the concentration should be added for that coating, etc. So that person should be involved in the quality check for that corrosion only. So depending on the experience, qualifications, and the expertise in some of the areas, so that persons only should be involved in the quality inspections. Then to gain the worker confidence in organized human activity and factory life. So worker should notice these types of observations, these types of inspections, these types of quality check, quantity check, statutory check, audit check, etc. so that they can understand that the plant, the management, the government, and the third party person and all the people who are the employee of the same organizations are taking care of the persons, taking care of the properties, and then they will get or gain the confidence in the working in that area. Even though if some of the areas may be hazardous, some of the operations are dangerous, etc. Then there are 4 types of PSIs, that is plant inspection, that is one of the type, and under these plant inspection there are subtypes of inspections like periodic inspection. So under the PSI, one of the type is plant inspection, and under this plant inspection subtype is periodic inspection. So the name itself indicates that there should be some frequency, there should be some period, in that period only the inspection is going on, and that inspection is already planned. So if you are going to plan the inspection after 15 days or monthly inspection or quarterly inspection, whatever it may be, so that is nothing but the plan activity, and that is why it is called as planned inspection. And the period is fixed for a particular duration, or that may be a frequency is fixed or a particular criteria is fixed. Suppose if there is a statutory requirement by the Department of Industrial Safety Health, or if the inspection is carried out by the factory inspector, or if the inspection is carried out by the safety officer, or if the inspection is carried out by the third party, etc. So all these inspections are the periodic inspection or the plant inspection. So the inspection may be for the plant, that may be for the machinery, for the equipment, for the lifting machines, pressure vessels, apparatus, procedures, methods, and health of the workers. So that should be examined at regular pre-plan period. So the statutory forms should be filled by that inspector. The checklist should be handled and filled by that inspector. Then the tables which is a formal table designed by the experts, then the period of inspection. All these things should be strictly followed by the inspector or the members of that inspector committee. So no statutory periodicity may be decided according to the need. The whole area should be covered and plant people should be informed in advance for the necessary arrangement. As it is a planned activity, as it is a periodic inspection, we can give the intimation to the workers, to the employees, where the inspection is going to happen. Then it should be deliberate, thorough, and detailed and systematic. So safety committee or safety committee members, safety officer, competent person, safety consultant, industrial hygienist, doctors, and other safety and health personnel can carry such inspections. So that decision is depending on the management, depending on the managerial level committee members, and depending on the requirement of your plant. So that is a detail about the periodic inspection. Then there is a second subtype of the plan inspection that is called as intermittent inspection. So it is carried out at irregular intervals. It is not a plan, or it is not a fixed, or it is not a periodic inspection. That is why it is called as intermittent inspections. So to check the new equipment installations, if the new equipment is arrived in your plant, in your department, then the inspection should be carried out. So the new equipment installation is irregular activity, or activity which is not a frequent activity. That is why the inspection which is carried out is called as intermittent inspections. In case if some modifications, if some expansions, if some accident is happen in your industry, in your plant, then also the inspection should be carried out, and that inspection is called as intermittent inspection. So that is depending on the requirement or that activity. Some partial inspections are also carried out at uncertain intervals. And then the third sub plan inspection is general inspection. So we can understand the general or routine inspection for all the places. So sometimes we may inspect isolated areas, some parking places, sidewalks, fencing, light illuminations, reporting after long shutdown like COVID-19 case, then different points or department or that area should be checked by the general person, and there is no need of expertise person for this general inspection. Then the fourth one is special inspection. So for a particular hazard, for a particular accident, for a particular dangerous operation, or for designing or installations of new equipment, for the storage area, or some tools, some construction activity, or if some protective equipments are installed or involved in the area of your plant, then you can go for the special inspections. So suppose if the raw material is replaced by the hazardous new raw material, then you have to go for the special inspection. If the storage area is changed, if the storage tanks material is changed, then also you can go for the special inspection, because the conditions are different, the materials are different, the characteristics are different, and that is why the hazards and the chances of accident or the severity are different one. And for that purpose, before starting, before activity of these types of new installations, new storage tanks, new materials, etc., we have to go for the special inspection, but that can be planned in a specific way. Then the next type of PSI is continuous inspection, that is called as ongoing inspection also. So we can continually inspect the plant, we can continue inspect the equipment, we can continue inspect the processes, operations, safety devices, PPs, etc. So we can inspect these types of parameters which is covered under this continuous or ongoing inspection. Thus, continuous watch and familiarity with employees, equipment, machines, environment are maintained as part of informal and cooperative responsibilities, right? Then third one is statutory inspections. So the name itself clearly indicate that it is a legal requirement. So mainly the inspection is done by the Department of Industrial Safety and Health. So normally assistant director, deputy director, or the director of the dish office, normally we called it as factory inspectors, are going to conduct these types of inspections. So that is called as statutory inspections. So strict and timely compliance is necessary in these types of inspections. Breach of law may attract prosecutions. For most of the factories where there is no system of internal inspection, statutory inspection is the only effective inspection, and therefore it should be carried out in detail. Because in the Factory Act 1948, in the amendments, in the Maharashtra Factory Rule 1963, or some other rules and regulations are applicable for these types of activities, whether all these activities, whether all these storage, handling, material handling activity, then some parameters, whatever it may be, whether all these activities are conducted or done in a safer way or not. That is the main objective of these statutory inspections. But all these things are with reference to the acts and rules only. Then non-technical workload on inspector should be minimized. Inspector's powers and duties are statutorily prescribed. The process making inspection should be familiar with the sound knowledge of the plant, relevant standards, codes, rules, etc. Because the person who is going to face these statutory inspection must know the rules and regulations, must know the details, guidelines, some IS standards, some relevant standards that may be a ISO or OSHA's or some new amendments, etc. Then and then only the guidelines or the loopholes which is indicated by that safety inspector can be understood by the plant person. Then the systematic inspection steps or the checklist should be already prepared. The method of using data, evaluating and report, writing, etc. should be done by that responsible person. They should behave like friends, philosophers and guides. They should explain what, why and how. They should know the reasons for past accidents, working unsafely, the safe alternatives or remedial measures, and they should convince the people for the better practice. So both the peoples, especially the inspectors and the person who is going to face this statutory inspection, should know all these things in detail. What is the history of that company? What is the historical data as far as the accident is concerned? What are the causes and what are the remedial measures or the corrective actions taken in the past or in the current scenario? Then best steps of inspections are to contact the department head for his help, to observe all conditions for compliance with established standards, checklist preferable, to observe all operations for unsafe acts or violations of safety rules, and to prepare the systematic report with all the hazards detected and corresponding remedial measures. The report should include good suggestions of plant, people, and the recommendations may be discussed with the persons concerned. The report should be sent to the concerned people for compliance, and the follow-up action should be continued till full compliance is achieved and reported to the management. So sometimes it happens that the statutory inspector is going to indicate some of the points that these are the unsafe conditions, these are the unsafe acts, or you should modify these SOPs or the procedure in a particular way. So normally if the task is time consuming, then they asked to complete all these things in a 1 month, in a 3 months, in a 6 months, depending on the situations. So that is called as the compliance. So that is the duty of the safety officer and the safety experts, that they have to complete all these activity before the period which is given by the factory inspector. So that should be done by the safety experts person which are available in the industry. Then the next parameter of the safety appraisal system is safety sampling. So it is a systematic sampling of particular dangerous activity, processes or areas. So the name itself clearly indicates that we are going to take the samples. So that sample may be of a dangerous activity, that may be a particular process or a particular area. So sometimes the LPG storage area, sometimes the hydrogen storage area, sometimes the explosive material area may be taken as a sample for the safety sampling purpose. In some of the processes, if the process is new one, if it is an innovative process, and if it is a dangerous process, then we can go for the safety sampling for that particular process. In some of the activities, if the activities are danger, then we must go for the sampling. So these are some of the examples where we can go for the safety sampling. Normally this safety sampling is conducted within 15 minutes. So this is the short period. Why it is? Because we have to observe the activities, the hazards and the preventive measures. And that is why it is called as safety sampling. It is for the short duration. So to measure the hazards, accident potential by the random sampling and by the counting safety defects while touring specified locations by a prescribed tour of about 15 minutes. So it is also useful when you are going to install the same storage tanks, same machineries, and the number of machineries or number of storage tanks are more. Suppose you have to install 10 CNC new machineries in your plant, then you can conduct a safety sampling for a single CNC machine, and the same guidelines can be followed by the other persons who are going to install other 9 CNC machines. So this is useful for the repetitive tasks that they are going to conduct the safety sampling survey, and they can provide the guidelines for the same task. The points on a safety sampling sheet includes items such as non-use of personal protection, obstructed fire exits, environmental factors, lighting, ventilation, temperature, faulty hand tools, guarding position, etc. So all these points should be inspected by that person who is expertise in that safety sampling points. The results are collected by the safety officer and presented in terms of tables, in terms of calculations, in terms of graph. And for the safety sampling, there is a guideline, there is a formula. That formula is n equal to 4 into 1 minus p upon v square p, where this n is number of observations, p is percentage of unsafe operations, v is the value of accuracy, that is normally the normal value is 10%. And for example, we can understand the calculation with the help of this example. That is, if during preliminary survey, if 60 observations are there and 20 were found unsafe, it means 40 are safe and 20 are unsafe. Then P is nothing but the unsafe operation percentage. So that is 20 out of 60, because the 60 observations are the total and unsafe observations are 20. So that is 20 by 60, that is 0.33, and in terms of percentage, that is multiplied by 100, that P comes in a 0.33 into 100. But for the calculation in the formula, we have to take the fraction only. So that P comes 0.33. So we can put this value of P as a 0.33, and V, that V is nothing but the accuracy, So generally it is 10%. That is why this V is replaced by 0.10. And then we can calculate the N, that is number of observations. So we require 812 observations for a safe activity, that is the safety sampling technique. So from these calculations, that is N equal to 812 clearly indicates that only 10% with the help of 10% accuracy and with 0.33 unsafe observations, we should conduct 812 observations. Out of that, 200 observations are possible in one tour. Four tours are required, that is 3 tours are 200 and last tour of 212 observations. So this 812 is divided into 4 tour, that is 200 into 3 plus 212. So it comes 812. So we required near about 4 tour, and in that one tour at least 200 observations should be done. So it is a technique by the American Chemical Plants and the ICC Dyestuff division in UK, and the base of these calculations and the formula is Henrich formula. So we know that the Henrich theory clearly indicates that the triangle, which is clearly showing that 1, 29 and 300 equality. So one major accident equivalent to what and equivalent to what. So on that basis only, we have to decide the observations, the number of observations, and then only we can calculate whether the activity is safe or not. So it is based on the samples and not on the detailed survey. Its difference with the safety tour is that the tour is an unscheduled examination. So this is one of the parameter of safety appraisal, that is safety sampling. There is another parameter called as safety tour. So safety tour is a unscheduled examination for work area by a team of safety persons and maybe last for a longer period to assess the safety standards, while safety sampling is a short tour of 15 minutes, generally by one observer for the purpose of random sampling of visible defects and to mark them on a sampling checklist. So basically there is a difference between safety tour and safety sampling. So safety sampling is basically conducted for the short duration for a specific objective, and safety tour is for the detailed and it is unplanned activity. So this is the different guidelines or the techniques involved under the safety sampling. So list safety is a defect, hazards applicable to that area, then define routes at least 2 per section or department which the observation can traverse within 15 minutes. Train the observers for correct use of their respective routes and printed checklist. Tell the workers the purpose of safety sampling. Then observer must meet at a convenient place once a week or fortnight. One observer should cover one route alone and mark his sheet. Then defects found should be corrected by the supervisor or department head, and results of sampling checklist are added to summary sheets and plotted on a graph. So this graph clearly showing us that this much or the number of sampling is taken by this person, and from this number the observations are like this. So from that graph itself, from the conclusion itself, we have to take the corrective action as per as the situation is concerned. Comparing with the graphs of past period, deviation in the safety performance is noted and safety measures are decided to improve the performance. So these are the different techniques of the safety sampling. The advantages of this: management is provided with a week by week picture of accident potential. So rather than going for the 6 months, 1 year, we have to adopt this technique for the weekly basis so that we can understand the accident potential. Defects are cleared and at least once a week, many defects are cleared on this spot. Supervisor eyes are sharpened by the practice and begin to more vigilant. Supervisors and managers are put on the spot when they fail to take action after the defects have been pointed out to them. Then these are the subjects of safety sampling checklist. That may be a protective equipment, that may be a protective clothing, that may be a housekeeping, that may be a tool, that may be unsafe conditions, that may be unsafe actions. So we have already discussed about these parameters, what conditions are involved under these subjects. So with reference to these examples, whatever we have discussed in the previous presentation, we should adopt these point depending on the requirement, and we should conduct the safety sampling, and we should prepare the safety sampling checklist before starting the safety sampling. Then another safety appraisal is safety survey. A safety survey is a detailed examination of a narrow or a specific major key area, identify the safety inspection or auditor or individual plant, procedure or a particular problem common to a work as a whole. So if someone is pointed out a particular area, a particular task, a particular procedure, or if a plant person itself indicates that we must go in detailed survey as far as the safety is concerned, then we can go for the safety survey. Please note that safety sampling is the short period, 15 minutes, and a specific objective sampling is done in the safety sampling. But in a safety survey, we have to conduct a detailed investigation, a detailed study as far as the safety is concerned. It is followed by a formal report, action plan, and subsequent monitoring. So for this safety survey, we have to prepare a formal report. We have to prepare an action plan, and then we have to follow some monitoring techniques. It is a general inspection of the particular dangerous activities, processes, or areas. Safety audit is a different from the safety survey. So safety survey is a uh, specifically identified activity by the auditor or the plant person, and it is restricted to the particular activity, to the particular process, or to the area. But safety audit covers all parts of a plant one by one, while safety survey picks up only one or two most hazardous or important activities in that plant. So that is the main difference in the safety audit and safety survey. The safety survey is carried out by the expert team which is available in the plant. Then it is a particular area which is going to inspected or observed by that expert persons, and it is critically studied in detail. The study report is useful to all concerned. Safety study of one industrial estate examines all or the sample factories in the estate or requisite points. Suppose if you select a particular area, that is a chlorine storage tank area. So if you go in detail about these chlorine storage tanks, which type of material should be used for storing these areas, which type of protective measures should be taken care by these persons, then what is the effect of direct sunlight on the chlorine tanks, what is the effect of humidity, what is the effect of rain or the moisture contents in the air, what is the effect of dryness in that area, or some other effects. So the detailed study, if it is done in one of the department or the section in one of the plant, then it can be useful for other plants or for other departments also. So that can be done with the help of safety study. So it spells out number of recommendations and remedial measures. As it is a detailed study, there are a lot of recommendations can be given by the expert person and some solutions also for some of the hazards or how to reduce the level of hazards, how to avoid the accidents. Then within a plant, some particular sections, departments, process or accidents can be selected for the safety study. Then HAZOP has an fault analysis. Similar techniques may be utilized for the safety study. So depending on the condition, depending on the requirement, we can opt for the different types of techniques. It reveals hazards and industrial hygiene effects to be considered at the design stage as well as for the operating plants. It gives a general picture of an industrial estate studied for safety purpose. It suggests real remedial measures and precautions to avoid accidents. Study of accident analysis suggests appropriate preventive measures. Then safety tour is another safety appraisal parameter. So it is an unscheduled examination. So we must clearly define the each parameter. What is safety sampling? What is safety tour? What is safety survey? What is safety audit? What is safety inspection? What is PSI, etc. So safety tour is unscheduled examination of a work area carried out by the works manager or safety committee members to ensure that the standards of housekeeping are at an acceptable level, hazards are removed, and safety standards are observed. So its scope is less than that of the safety inspection, and it is a general inspection of the workplace. So it is just like a tour, but it is related to a safety. That is why it is called as safety tour. Then a safety review, that is another parameter. So it is done to identify the unsafe conditions or operating procedures that could lead to an accident. So it is a clear-cut review. So mainly we have to identify the unsafe conditions. We have to identify the wrong practices adopted by the workers, even though it is clearly mentioned the SOPs. Then the procedure initiates the application of new technology to existing hazards, review operating procedures for necessary revisions, review adequacy of maintenance of safety inspections, keeps plant personnel alert to the process hazards. So these are the different review points. From that we can understand the unsafe conditions and the wrong procedures or the steps. Then safety inventory systems. So again we are going to focus the hazardous material in this type of parameter, that is safety inventory systems, because we are talking about the safety aspects, we are talking about the accidents, we are talking about the precautionary measures as far as the safety and health is concerned. That is why we must focus on the hazardous material, right? So for that hazardous material, there are some guidelines, some statutory guidelines are also there. That is MSIHC rule, that is manufacture, storage, import of hazardous chemical rule. Then there may be a state rule, that may be a Maharashtra factory rule, that may be a Gujarat factory rule, that may be a Tamil Nadu factory rule, etc. So with reference to MSIHC rule, with reference to the state rules, we can adopt the standard practices. How much quantity is the permissible by these MSIHC and state rules, that is called as threshold quantity. So all these threshold quantities with their limits are mentioned under these rules. Then there is a specific requirement for the MAH unit, that is major accident hazard unit. So for the MAH unit, there are again threshold quantities are mentioned, and there is some specific criteria in the MSIHC rule is mentioned whether this unit is MAH unit or not. If the MAH units are identified, then the guidelines for this inventory system is different one and for non-MAH units, the guidelines and the safety inventory system is different. So these rules include disclosure of safety information, notification of major accident, notification of industrial activity, safety reports, on-site emergency plan, off-site emergency plan, etc. So most of the things are covered under the MHIC rule. The inventory plays now statutory rule also, that is steps to prevent major accidents and to limit their consequences are proper design, construction, inspection, maintenance and operation of storage vessels, process plants, alarm systems, trips, drum tanks, scrubbers, water curtains, emergency procedures, information, training and protective equipment to the workers, and on-site and off-site emergency plans. So there are variety of parameters that should be controlled by the owner of that industry or the occupier of that industry. Utmost care should be done by that owner when we are talking about the hazardous material, because most of the accidents are linked to the hazardous material. So it is also suggested that within 1 kilometer radius of the major hazard, no population should be allowed, and within 1 to 2 kilometer, limited development of low density such as warehouses and light industry may be allowed. So depending on the MAH unit, again these are the different guidelines that within the periphery of 1 to 2 kilometer there should not be any residential area to avoid the adverse impact of the accident in case of any accident is happen in that industry. Then the another parameter is product safety. So it is a legal responsibility of every manufacturer, seller, agent or supplier of each product to render it safe. So if some industries are manufacturing a new product, some industries are only modifying the raw material or intermediates, some industries are only packing that product and then selling, etc. So depending on the type of activity, depending on the nature of activities of your factory, but all the plant persons, whether you are going to actually doing the reactions or some manufacturing process or only packing or only combining or only assembling, whatever it may be, but all the plant persons are responsible for taking care of their product. So if any harm is caused to the consumer, buyer, user by that product, legal damages are payable over and above any statutory compensations for accident injuries. So section 7B of the Factory Act imposes duty upon every designer, manufacturer, importer or supplier to make that product safe and without risk to the health of the worker, to carry out the necessary test for this purpose, to supply safety information regarding the safe use of that product. The product should conform to the Indian and foreign standards. Negligence or breach of warranty should be provided or proved to establish the product liability. So in overall, we can understand that the product safety is very important, because we only, that may be a buyer, consumer, seller, supplier, manufacturer, whoever may be, are the persons who are knowing about the characteristics of that product. So that may be a chemical characteristic, that may be a physical property, that may be a fire hazard related property, that may be a explosive property, that may be a health hazard issues, etc. So whatever it may be, all these things should be known to the person who is going to handle that product, and from that point of view we must take care while handling all these types of products. So the manufacturer is obliged to exercise care in planning, designing and producing his product reasonably safe for all users and provide adequate warning and precautions within the product with the product of the safe use. Breach of warranty may be expressed, that is written or implied or oral. The Consumer Protection Act has also been enacted in our country, and consumers councils court work at many places where complaints regarding the product can be launched. So consumers also can identify if any issues related to that product is there. Like sometimes the food products are harmful to the persons. Sometimes the product like crackers are also harmful to the persons, or they may create some hazards that may be a fire hazard or explosion hazards nearby a specific area. And likewise, the consumer can also has raised the objection for using that product, and then the government may stop the production activity of that particular product. Then product safety program should include clear policy, duties and responsibilities of personnel in design, manufacturing, quality control and marketing and servicing. So as we all know that there are different steps from raw material up to consumer. So in all the steps, we must observe the safety of that product. The committee should include chief engineer, sales manager, service manager, representatives from other departments also, because each and every person, each and every department is going to handle that product before selling to the consumers. So that may be a welding activity, that may be a assembling activity, that may be a painting activity. When I am talking about the automobile sector, so automobile outcomes is maybe a car, maybe a vehicle. So that is the product for that particular industry. So while handling this product, before converting these raw materials into the product, near about all the persons are going to handle the parts of that product or the involved in the different operations like painting, assembling, welding, cutting, grinding, finishing, etc. So every person or the representatives of all the departments should be considered in the product safety program. The committee shall carry out various functions such as the review of design, change required, safety warning signs and warnings, then review of accidents and claims, and education of engineers and operators. Then there is a different scheme as far as the safety appraisal is concerned, that is contact scheme. So supervisors are directed to contact the workers under their control and to talk with them at the workplace regarding the safety points. So wearing eye protection, providing the guards, clearing work benches, tool conditions, etc. are the duties of the supervisor that should be communicated or contacted to the worker. So that is nothing but the example of this contact scheme. And this contact designed for this purpose. So this method is useful for the spot corrections and motivating people for safe attitudes. So if suppose a supervisor observe some of the good points or maybe wrong practices, or if someone is not going to wear this PPE for a specific operations, so that on that card itself they can clearly mention that he is observed for this point. So observation may be a very good observation, that may be a bad observation, or that may be observation which can cause an accident. So whatever it may be, that should be written on the contact scheme card, and with the help of that we can reduce the hazard, we can reduce the chances of accidents. Then there is another parameter that is called as TLC, total loss control. So the concept of this accident prevention, when applied to prevent human injuries, then it is called as injury prevention or control. So we are going to control a total loss. So the loss may be a human injury,
A loss may be a fatality of a person, a loss may be a property damage. So we have to control all these losses. That may be a human loss or that may be a property loss. So when it is applied to a control human injuries and property damage both, then we can call it as TLC, that is total loss. When we are focusing on the property damage control only, then it is called as damage control system, right? So when these concepts of total loss control is achieved by means of engineering control, then it is a total loss preventions, because every expert from this safety field always insist us to go for the engineering control. And if the engineering control is not going to happen, if it is not feasible, then and then only we are going to opt for the personal protective equipment, as engineering control is the main defense of any type of activity and PPE is the secondary defense. So the concept of TLC is also defined as follows. It is an evaluation from injury prevention to the control of all business losses by the application of sound management principles. So it is a system of reporting and controlling all incidents, whether the associated loss is small or large. All incidents are examined, potential loss is estimated, and recommendations are made and acted upon to avoid the repetitions. So this is nothing but a TLC concept. So it is a program to eliminate unnecessary cost by means of identification of downgrading situation, measurement of the loss potential, selection of the methods to control these situations. So indirectly we are going to control, we are going to avoid the losses of the persons or human beings, and also we are going to control the property losses. So property losses may be due to the fire, due to the explosion, due to the other issues, may be related to the pollutions or some other business interruptions. So the relevance of the total loss control to the India is given in this slide. Accidental deaths in industries and elsewhere are 1,40,000. The non-fatal injuries are 5 lakh. Workmen compensation being paid rupees 500 lakhs. ESIC, employee state insurance compensation benefits being paid 20,000 lakhs. Loss due to the deficiencies, packing, transportation, storage commodities like food, cement, fertilizer, etc. are 5,000 crores. Losses due to the fire, 2,000 crores. So these figures reveal great opportunity to prevent as many losses as possible by our collective efforts. So from these statistical data, we can understand there are many loopholes in the system, in the culture of safety, in the plants, and in overall that we can avoid, we can reduce this much of losses. So the losses may be in terms of human beings losses, that is the fatalities or deaths, or the losses may be in terms of compensation or the financial losses, right? So we can reduce or avoid such type of losses by applying the different safety practices in our industry. So these are the fundamentals of the loss control systems, that is the accident, unsafe conditions, unsafe actions are symptoms of something wrong in the management systems. Certain sets of circumstances can be predicted to produce severe injuries which can be identified and controlled. Safety should be managed like any other company functions. Management must direct the safety efforts by setting achieved goals, planning, organizing, and controlling to achieve them. Because normally it is a fact that the companies or the factories are focusing only on the production, and while doing the focus of this production, they may focus on the other activities, but in many cases that safety is the last option. but that should not be case. And if it is the case, then you can understand from the historical data of that company that there are chances of accidents, incidents, injuries, property damage, financial losses, etc. And when accident is happen in some of the industries, then they realize that these safety practices shouldn't focus, and that is why this accident is happen. And that loss is huge as compared to the investment for these safety practices or the safety equipments. So, but that is normally a case after an accident. But as a safety person, as a safety expert, we should not follow all these wrong practices. We should always focus on the preventive measures, right? So these are the different points which is indirectly discussed in this slide. Then management for loss control. So there should be a total loss control policy that is prepared by the risk department, risk manager, departmental heads, so that they can understand what are the points involved to prevent, to reduce the loss of this company. That may be a human being or that may be a property. So loss prevention committee should be formed to execute this policy. Responsibility should be fixed, and some special attention, some selections of the employee, placement, trainings, participations, etc. should be done to design for the control policy, that is total loss control policy. Some audit, some checklist should be prepared to achieve these goals of the control policy. So these are the general steps for compliance of this TLC policy. That is identification of hazards, evaluation of hazards and their detailed analysis, planning and implementing measures to reduce the hazards, and frequent review. So it is a continual process and it is a closed loop system. And after identification of hazards up to a frequent review, that should be a closed loop systems. Then and then only it is a successful policy or a successful procedure to avoid the different types of losses or a total loss. So these are the different applications. So for minimizing the damage to main machine material and methods. So TLC is useful. Then control measures monitoring by loss control department. Some rules and regulations should be prepared. If the already rules and regulation is designed by the government or by your company, then you have to follow all these rules and regulation. Some traffic laws, standard procedure instruction, measurements of safety performance by various ratings, occupational safety, health standards, rules, investigations of losses and summary analysis should be studied by each and every person so that we can avoid the losses in your company. So these are the different management points for loss control. So I hope you understand what exactly the safety appraisals and their techniques, what are the parameters should be involved while doing the safety appraisal in our industry. Thank you.